the moment you've all been waiting for. The royal hostess with the mostest. The queen bee with the money, honey.
B+.
That's right. And it's time you all bow to the real queen bee.
Here comes the most beautiful bee in the universe.
You're stealing all the bees just because you're jealous?
No, that's just a bonus. My actual plan is to capture all the queens. Their hives will then have no choice but to follow me.
Hey guys, what's up? Sorry, I'm a few minutes late, but it's better than usual, and I can't help but play my intro even with things like this. And I'm seeing some comments. Renee, you have I remember that you said that you had some familiarity with what I'm talking about. So I'm reading your guys's chat now here. Yeah, and we are gonna get to talking about that today. And I meant to do that today too. I meant to put in the hashtag because I'm not going to be quiet anymore, and we're going to use the hashtag. And if it brings people that are not so nice, it does. But my hope is that's my hope is actually to get people to share their stories as well. And I know it's hard. I'm just kind of I'm like I didn't even realize you guys are having a really interesting conversation here. And I agree with everything I'm seeing, and yeah. Hey, Michelle. Let's see. And my friend Rody Gal is here. And if I missed anybody else, I'm so sorry here. All right. So I know, I had this whole thing planned for tonight, and we're gonna get into it a little bit. But obviously there's a lot of stuff going on right now. So I realize that a lot of people are a little distracted and might be there's a lot of people live at the moment that people might be watching. So I mean, I'm still going to do this because I want it to be there for replay value, and I know that people will come in here and there. So I'm not gonna. I was like, what, should I reschedule? I'm like, no, I'm not rescheduling for her. No, not for anybody. But yeah, what a crazy day, right? Of course, I said I was going to be on really for a short amount of time this morning or this afternoon, and here I was there for like 2.5 hours again. So here I'm putting a firm time on myself today. Firm time. I'm not going past 11. Preferably 10:45. And I'm gonna hold myself to that tonight. You guys are just so much fun to talk to. I think that's Liberty Farmer. That is a very, very good way to put it. Things are just crazy right now, and I think in a lot of ways there's a lot of truths coming to light, but I also think there's a lot of misinformation coming to light. And I try to do my research before I come on here and speak, which is why I choose not to speak sometimes. Like this morning, people were asking me what I thought of certain situations. And, I talked to a few people privately, like a few people have asked, or, I've shared what I think. And anybody will tell you, like, I mean, I kind of felt this way since I first saw it. But I didn't want to speak on it publicly until I saw both. Hi, Dorothy. Until I saw both sides of the story, because that's just how my brain works. Like if I hear something, I'm not going to go run with it until I confirm it. Usually try and confirm it twice. Am I guilty of sometimes that happening? Yes. I have ADD. Like I am impulsive. Sometimes there are things that come out of my mouth that probably, but I really like when it comes to like big things, like, like truth bombs, you're not going to hear any truth bombs from me that I can't say are fact. And if it's like just speculating, I will literally say that. I'll preface it with that. Because today I've just seen some stuff that's nuts, and just unacceptable in my opinion. And I'm going to spend maybe 20 minutes or so discussing that stuff. And then I want to get into my topic for tonight because, ultimately my channel, I happen to be part of this community, which is why I comment on it, but it's not the direction I'm trying to go in, Hey, Abby. I think that a lot of things here in this has just kind of it's kind of come to a head at this point. I think that a lot of people feel really hurt. I think a lot of people have. Oh, Dorothy, you've missed quite a bit. Today was very eventful. And here's the thing, everybody's going to have a different opinion on everything that's gone on. So I don't think any videos have been privated. So instead of me like repeating information that I don't know is a fact, because, from what I've heard, like there are bits of truth in things that are said, but it's not the whole truth, or some things have been twisted. Like, it's just insane, guys. Like, and it's the misinformation that I can't stand, because when people seem to forget when they're on here is that, and like the person or not, you might not like Natasha, or you might not like another creator, but when you do things, if someone in the chat can appropriately maybe give cliff notes, I am okay with that. However, just try and keep it. I know you guys are good. You guys are good in here. I trust all of you. I know all of you would keep it appropriate. Yeah, I know you will. I just that's how miscommunications happen. So, like I said earlier, that's how that stuff happens. So somebody comes in the chat and they take a screenshot, and things get taken out of context and stuff like that. So, but the people seem to forget that, creators and everybody on here is an actual human being. And yeah, thank you, Liberty. Yep. So, and it was, and it wasn't something that was, these are some big things that, hi, Navigator. There's some like really heavy and serious accusations that, I've been seeing like more and more frequently. You know what I mean? Yeah. And Natasha did. She took the gloves off today, and she is back in full force, and she's pissed. So I'm trying to choose my words well here, just because and Natasha, yeah, right. So here's the thing, guys. And when it comes to the documents that she showed, right? I don't necessarily want to have an in-depth thing about that, only because I can't verify that everything is I'm not comfortable speaking on it until I've verified a few things, because like I said, guys, like something might be true, but some things and ways that it's presented might have been twisted. I'm gonna wait on that particular thing. If somebody wants to let Dorothy know, Liberty, if you want to let Dorothy know, I'm obviously I am totally fine with that. Hey, Amanda, you're known for your daily recaps. Okay, well, I appreciate that. She is unbothered. Well, not so much. I haven't seen her kind of go off like this in a little bit. And so she's back. That's the first thing people need to know. And she's very upset. She was accused of trolling with some really, and I'm gonna try and, Dorothy, it's on Natasha did a live earlier on her Recline channel, which explains what happened this morning with Granny's watching. And then I think she did something on her like true recliner queen, or whatever it's called now. And that one was in reference to the thing with Crafton. And it's there. Let me tell you, some of that was hard to listen to for me, because yeah, she did go real life. She did. Yeah. She sure did. And, I wanted to make that point very clear too, though, guys, like, regardless of what like the truth is and whatever, there is no reason that those entire documents should have been put up the way that they were. I'm sorry. Like, it doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't sit well with me. And I think a lot of people agree. So I'm not, defending anybody. I'm not saying what's real and what's not. All I'm saying is that the way that was presented, it looked pretty real life to me. But it was uncalled for, Audrey. No, it was. I agree. I'm a firm believer of, the truth always comes out. And, it's with the program that I went to, their whole motto, and I hate even using this in this, is the truth will set you free, but first it will make you miserable. And, that's not entirely inaccurate. So, I think that the truth always comes out, but I think that sometimes the way, I don't think it was her place to do it the way that she did. I just don't. And Oh, well, I hope you feel a little bit better, Amanda. I hope the meds like help out though, at least. But I get that. I get the side effects of that. So I'm glad you're here. YouTube stuff is a full-time job at this point, guys. And that's a thing. We need to be able to know when. Hold on. Oh, okay. Yeah, but there is a difference, Navigator. You're right. You're right. I agree with you. I agree. I agree entirely. Because here's the thing. Crafton isn't out here. In my opinion, from anything I've seen, like them or not, I haven't ever seen him scam anybody. I've never seen that. So it is I think it is different. I do. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that. And like, even if you don't like the person, you should be able to like put that aside just to, and that's what people are, I'm like stuttering over. I have so much to say, but hey, Captain Lee. Right. And that's it, guys, though. It's like, if you take all of your emotions out of it, take all of the names out of this, take all of your friendships, take all of your preferences out, and just look at what's going on. And tell me that you like don't see problems. And I mean problems everywhere. Like, that's the thing. Like this whole, like, I agree with, when Dorothy says she uses the word community loosely. I mean, I like to think I have my own little community on this channel, and I think I do, because everybody here is really well behaved when they're here, and we all have really good discussions and really good interactions. So, I mean, I'm not going to say we are the hive. I'm not going to say that we are not a community. Right, Navigator, exactly. Yep, exactly. And the more I thought about it, and I actually did have to sit and think about it. The more I thought about it as somebody who has been in that sort of situation, the more it kind of made sense in some ways. And I 100% agree with you. Hey, just me. Everybody, I'm actually allergic to bees, believe it or not. But I came up with B+. But no, Navigator, you were absolutely correct in that. Yep. And I mean, you always want to err on the side of caution. And that's the thing. A lot of people let their emotions like dictate what they do, and they don't. They're running high on that emotion, and they don't stop before they hit that enter key. And I really, really encourage people to do that, because I think it's important. I think that, we don't have to like each other, but just pause before you hit enter and think, is this really something that's, productive or helpful, or do I need to say it this way? I just think everybody should be a little bit more conscious of that, because like it's affecting people's real lives. And that's just, it's just not okay. And it didn't used to be like this. You're right, Audrey. I agree. It is serious. It is. And, I feel like that should have been handled very, very differently. And I'm not saying that like the truth shouldn't ever come to light or anything. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that I don't think that was, the way to do it. That's not it. And it's just going to continue from there. And, because we don't know. None of us, we don't know for certain. We don't know. And I mean, that's a sort of situation. Yes. Hit that thumbs up for me, guys. I have been trying to catch up on everything that's going on for hours today, because I kind of took the weekend off, because I was like, oh my God, there's just so much going on. Hey, Kellyanne. And I was just kind of overwhelmed. And then I had the program that I'm going to be speaking about try and strike me. So, I was kind of overwhelmed about that. But, I had a talk with, legal people that are, legal counsel, and they kind of pointed me in the right direction as to, what I'm allowed to do. And I'm not doing anything that's out of bounds. So I want, it's not quite 10 o'clock, which is when I consider after dark, but I have some choice words for, that place. And it's called free speech, and I'm going to use it. It's too bad, you can't strike me for speaking the truth or speaking at all, actually, which is actually part of the problem that I'm seeing everywhere else. However, in this case, and I've seen a couple, like, and I really appreciate that I'm seeing some subs, kind of speak up about how they feel about things. And I've seen it, I actually, I don't, trigger warning, guys. We're not crossing over there quite yet, but I agree with you, Abby, on that. Yes, absolutely. I was just going into other people's chats earlier today because I honestly, I don't spend a whole lot of time on here, especially these days. So I don't know a lot of the not smaller creators. I mean, I actually wouldn't consider these smaller creators, but I'm a small creator, but I don't know some of these people that get talked about and stuff. I don't really know them very well. I know them by name, but I don't know much about them. So I've been trying to make a point to go to people's channels and check it out for myself because, while I have no intention of talking about it, I just want to know. I mean, just for myself, I'm not going to have like one person's opinion dictate any of that. So I did. So I was in Melissa Jade's chat earlier because I'm not really familiar with her. And I know that she's a name that gets thrown around a lot. So I went in there and everybody was really nice. And actually a lot of her subs were making some really, really good points that I really agree with. And, I couldn't help but be like, good for you. Like there was one person, and here's the thing, guys, like there was one person in there and I don't remember their name. So I apologize. I don't think they're a sub of mine, but they might be. Because I think I'd have to manually go in and see if somebody, I don't know how to do all of that. But they said basically, that they kind of felt like they wanted to like put memberships to creators on hold until people learn to get along and start behaving. And I'm like, you know what? That kind of makes sense. Like when it comes down to it, guys, like, in a lot of ways, the audience is kind of like, their boss. I mean, a lot of people's paychecks or income comes from the subs that, donate out of the goodness of their heart or want to support the content, or through memberships if they're monetized and super chats. And, if you take that away, I mean, I don't know. I was like, that's an interesting way to put it. And I was like, that is a good way to make people, have people get, because like it's out of hand, guys. Like it really is. Everybody's mad at everybody else and everybody's like at each other's throats, and like subs don't know what's going on, and everybody's like changing things. Like everybody's caught in the middle. And I know everybody's entitled to their feelings and entitled, to all of that, and they're allowed to address it, but it's gotten out of hand. Like I can't keep up at this point, and I think a lot of subs feel similarly. They feel like, they really like somebody, but that it's crazy. I've said it a billion times and it's been talked about till it's like, it's like beating a dead horse at this point. I hate that figure of speech. I don't like that figure of speech, but right. So things have gotten really ugly. Exactly. And, Natasha's now back with a vengeance, and she is just, she's got a score to settle, and she is going for it. So when she's in that kind of mood, it's like pouring gasoline onto like an uncontained like forest fire. So I expect things to continue to decline, and I want to be proven wrong. So please, guys, prove me wrong. But I don't think I will. And I think that it is getting overwhelming. And that's why like I'm speaking on this now, just because it just happened. But I'm going to be moving. Like I'll talk about what's going on, and because I'm part of this community and sometimes I want to talk about it, but I'm certainly not gonna focus on it entirely. Like I have another, well, I don't, it is kind of a community. I have another, I have some other stuff to do on YouTube that isn't regarding her, and any of that. And it's insane, guys. It's insane. Who I feel bad for the most is a lot of the subs, because I don't care what anybody says. I really don't. I mean, I know that there's sometimes not a whole lot of crossover, but I see the same names that are in my chats in at least usually in every other creators chat that I've popped in. And there are obviously names that I don't know, because everybody's going to have their own unique people. But other than that, though, like oh my God. But I feel like, we all like people, like, it's hard. It's hard. I felt that way. I feel that way as it stands. What exactly is she accomplished? Yeah. I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. With all of that. I don't know what's going on. That's what I'm saying. Like a lot of the times, like you'll see on YouTube that people will like band together with like an ulterior motive in mind. And usually when that happens, it means something. It doesn't usually mean something good is coming. But I don't know, guys. I want no part of it. I want no part of it, and I want none of you to have to deal with it either, because a lot of this is it's between creators, really. And there's a lot of people that just really don't want anything to do with it, that get sucked in, and that's the point I'm trying to make. Like, it is crossing over into real life, and that includes Natasha, like her or not. And I'm not saying she's the only. I've seen this a lot of places. I'm just saying, like, a lot of the time, one of her biggest things that she says is that we point out the faults over with her and not anybody else. And I want to be sure. I'm going to try to not do that, because I do see things elsewhere, and I'm going to make a point, because I'm tired of. I'm just tired of her having that as an argument. So, I'm going to say, like, people, what happened in Natasha today wasn't right either. I there was an apology involved. I get that, but I just, a lot of the stuff that's happening, and it's because people are getting really riled up and really, really invested in all of this, and they kind of just act. And it's just going to get worse, guys. It's just going to get worse. Never in my whole life. You couldn't have said that better myself. I love that she says that, because she says it constantly. So I always get a kick out of it. In fact, I made a video that had like every time that she said it, because it's so frequent. I'm so lost too, Navigator. That, and I can't keep up, because it's happening right now as I'm on here. Like, there's probably more stuff going on that I'm not even, privy to. But the fact of the matter, guys, and I know this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but I'm going to say it because I have to. Because I have to. And I would hope to think that we are adults, and that me saying this isn't going to be interpreted as me attacking somebody, or that I dislike that person, or that I'm against that person, or that I'm out to get. It has nothing to do with any of those things. I'm just commenting, and I don't know. People take things all sorts of ways, and I hate that, because it couldn't be further from the truth. But all I'm going to say, and I understand that many people might disagree with me on this, and that's okay. You're allowed to disagree. In my opinion, what happened to Natasha this morning wasn't okay. I feel that was wrong. I feel that shouldn't have happened. I know that, Granny's watching, apologized and took that down. And I think that's great. That was the right thing to do. But I think it's a really good example of just what's going on to begin with. Like, I just, a lot of people, like all these creators, like, are good people, and people are getting just really caught up in things. And it's gone too far. It's gone too far. And right. And I want to hear all sides too. So I know a lot of people don't want to hear something like that. But it doesn't mean I think anybody's a bad person, or I don't like them. It has nothing to do with that. And I get really emotional about that, because I can't tell you how many times I've been told that. And not about this particular, but I've stated my mind about somebody else before, and I was told, I was yelled at for it, and I'm like, why am I not allowed to? It doesn't, and it was somebody I liked very much. No, you're allowed. So here's the thing, Kellyanne. So I don't think anybody has said that he wasn't sick. I think that's neither here nor there. Because he does have, as far as I know, and I can only speak as to what I've heard or what I've seen people post, which isn't always the truth. But I can't have, I can't say either way. But if he does have a seizure disorder, I mean, a lot of the time stress can induce episodes with that. And I don't think anyone's saying he wasn't sick. There was something else going on, and of course, Natasha exploited that for everything that it's worth, and it's actually some really serious stuff that I don't even feel comfortable speaking on, because I don't want to read. If you read in the chat, I don't want to have to say it out loud, because as somebody who has been through a situation like that, I don't want to. I'm erring with caution for the sake of all parties. And I agree. It's just, I think a lot of people are getting really, really, really riled up in these emotional states, and they're acting without thinking. and I see it everywhere, and it's the same thing, when Natasha decided, yeah, I'm not going to say it out loud, Michelle. I don't think that's my place to say that, because I don't know the truth, and not, I don't know what's going on, and I don't want to add it. Yeah. So that's just my 2 cents. Somebody in the chat can probably say, I just don't want to say, I don't want anyone to have to listen to it. But and that's the thing, and we've seen it on, from Natasha as well, she'll see something and she'll like go into a frenzy. Yeah, Kellyanne, I'm not trying to like evade the question. It's just, it is something really personal that should not have been announced to the world the way it was, for the sake of both people involved. And, I don't think it was, her story to tell, or anyone's for that matter, besides anyone involved. So of course, it had to come onto YouTube because that's, the true this community fashion these days. But I'm glad to see that a lot of people kind of notice that for what it is and are kind of taken aback. Thank you, Zen Zone. Oh yeah, anxious for peace. You do have experience. Yeah. So I dated somebody that had a really severe seizure disorder, and stress was like one of the biggest triggers on that. So I do remember that. So stressful situations can cause episodes, and a lot of the time he'd like hit his head, or he would have it was rough. I mean, I can't imagine dealing with that, having it happen to me. It's really scary. Yeah, and I'm not going to get caught up in it, Audrey, because that is the thing. I wish to stay out of it. I am going to comment on what I see because I'm not afraid anymore, guys. Like, I'm just not. And if people want to hate me for it, if people want to like shun me, or, it's fine. I get it because, at the end of the road, we're all adults, and you guys might want to pretend. You guys want to, I'm calling your bluff. Everybody in this community is capable of being an adult because I see it in here. I've seen it time and time again. There are people, not right now, but in the past, that I know don't like each other in here. And you know what? They comment respectfully. And can you guys still hear me? My AirPods are like being weird. Put a 1 if you can still hear me, please. Because I don't know why. Okay, now I'm back. There we go. All right. Right. I agree, Abby. I agree. Yeah. With your, yes, Zenzone. I get that. I do. And I appreciate how mature everybody's being in here. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. Just because sometimes people feel really strongly differently than me. Right. So for the time being, guys, let's just leave that alone. If any of the parties involved wish to speak on it, then, that's one thing, but I don't feel that it's appropriate to poke or dig. And especially if you're going to make it public on here, I don't think that's right. I think that's really awful, actually. So there was a lot of real life stuff and really awful stuff happen on YouTube today. And, the difference is though, that Natasha has not apologized or taken anything down. So yet again, here she is, a cut above the rest. But we are moving forward. Yes, right, Zenzone. Yeah. That would happen with the guy I was dating too. It was scary. It was scary for me too, because I at first didn't know how to handle it. So I totally get that. So I can understand how, like, that could be part of it, but I'm not even. I'm gonna stop. We're moving on. Yeah. When is right? Releasing real life paperwork, right? And she has said that she felt violated when people were sharing her real life stuff. I feel like that situation is really different, and I feel that way because of the context. Like, what is the content of those papers that you're sharing? On one hand, what you're sharing is something deeply personal, medically, with possible medical connotations and things like that. But when people are sharing things with you, that's public record, like court documents and things like that. I just feel that that's two different. It's like apples to oranges. Let's see. Yeah, I know. And I think that the feelings were just running high, and I think that a lot. I think that there was a lot of things that happened today that people regret. And I would hope they regret anyways. And I would really, really hope that, Natasha, I mean, who am I kidding? I'm sorry. I'm not even going to say that. She's not going to take it down. She's not going to stop. And neither is anybody else that's involved in that right now, unfortunately. As much as I wish it was. The best thing I can do and say to you guys, if you want to make a difference and not kind of perpetuate things like that, I know it's really hard. And I'm not going to say you guys can't, because that's not my right. But if you really don't want to support, then don't go watch. If she's doing her live about that, don't give her that audience. But I'm never going to tell somebody where they should and shouldn't. Never. And I didn't like that she said that today either. She's like, if you go over to other people's chats, you need to stay there. Why? Why can't people chat in my chat and in yours, Natasha? Like, I don't understand. I just don't. Because not everybody who watches me hates you, believe it or not, Natasha. I'm not a hate channel. I just comment on what's going on. And I'm going to do more of that. I'm going to do more of commenting what I see elsewhere. Because, Natasha does have a point. If I speak about her, why am I not speaking about anything else? I don't know. That's a good point. And I think I'm ready to do that. Because I don't want to be a hypocrite, because this is my channel and I do things the way that I want here. And, yeah. It is right, guys. Right. So, I mean, it was just a really emotional day for a lot of people, subs included. Because, I mean, first of all, what they heard in that paperwork was hard to read and hard to hear about. I think a lot of us have experience and things like that. And I think, there should have been a trigger warning on that. I don't know why there wasn't. Yeah, because they'll see both sides and not. You're right, Renee. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Just one narrative, and that's really disturbing. If you're just getting your information from one source, whether it be the news or, I don't know, broaden your horizons. There's a lot more out there. I wish I had done it sooner, honestly. Yeah, Kellyanne, the only reason that I do watch is because if I'm making videos, I don't want to spread misinformation. So if I see something in a channel that doesn't like her, right? I want to make sure that that's actually what came out of her mouth in the context that it came out of, because otherwise that's how misinformation spreads. As a sub, you don't believe me like you are. I get that. I don't blame you. I sometimes it's so cringe. I can't even deal with it. But yeah, so I think that everybody's just kind of in high. And I thought about kind of changing the topic of my live tonight, only because everybody's kind of really wrapped up in this right now. And I'm kind of gauging, hi Blues Girl. I'm kind of gauging where I'm going to go with this, but you know what, actually I could kind of use that as a segue, because, when push comes to shove, the people treating each other badly is just, hold on. It's not right, Amanda, actually, very good point, Amanda. Yep. One big difference between NC's case and the new quote unquote info on Crafton is that the case has not gone to court yet. NC pled guilty. Crafton is just my opinion. Absolutely. 100% agree with you on that. And what happened to innocent until proven guilty on that side. And then, if it really did happen, what happened to not wanting to re-victimize a victim? Either way that you look at it. I have not checked my email yet. I spent way too much more time than I wanted to on here earlier. Not that I wanted to, because I always like hanging out with you guys and I get really caught up. Yeah, right. The NC thing was triggering for a lot of people. Absolutely. And myself included. So that's actually something that, why it kind of resonated with me is because when I was at these programs, the ones that I'm, going to be discussing and going forward, one of the things that they did there was, for lack of a better term, and I think it actually is the terminology, it's called attack therapy. So basically, what they would do is you would be put in a chair in the middle of a room with a circle of your classmates and staff around you. And you had to sit there with your mouth shut while they all said everything wrong with you, whether it be your looks, everything, nothing was off limits. Nothing. Nothing was off, out of bounds. Nothing. Trust me when I say, because I saw some really awful racism. And nobody stopped those things coming out of people's mouths. That was a completely appropriate thing to yell at somebody. And I just was disgusted by that. But that's the thing. That's what kind of triggered me with everything, is because I feel that that's what happens to a lot of people. Like they'll try to go up on panel and talk, and they get muted and then berated. And I just, I really didn't like it. Hey, Angie. And I didn't like it. I couldn't, I was trying to figure out why it hit me the way it did. And the ganging up and the, some people will call it tough love. It's not tough love. It's not tough love to tell a 14-year-old that, they're fat and ugly and nobody will ever want them. It's not tough love to say that to somebody, at all. Not that was said to me. Oh, not the fat part, but definitely ugly. I was called ugly many times. So that's the thing, Amanda. A lot of us here have that's why the Petito case kind of, drew in a lot of us, is because a lot of us have experiences. And like I said, guys, trigger warning. I want to be very clear about that. Trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. What I'm talking about, like, I just want to be clear. I know I'm not going into anything too bad, but I just want to be, I don't want to send anybody into a place that they don't want to go to. But that's the thing. A lot of people were drawn to the Petito case because, we have experienced domestic violence, and we do have, a history with that, and we've experienced it and we saw it there. And I think that's something that's, a really common thing, amongst this community. I've seen a lot of, really, not just awful stories, but stories of like real bravery from our community members, leaving situations that were really difficult. I've seen some like, for lack of a better word, some real success stories, and I'm really proud of a lot of the, but the things that happen, a lot of it's horrible. And I, myself included, I've been through it, with unfortunately more than one person, but it's a cycle. And I see that also with, it's not just with partners. A lot of the times it's friendships or anything, or YouTube creators. And I see that. But here's, my whole thing with this is I wanted to put my story out before anyone put it out for me. And here's the thing. I was, when I decided to come on here, I really did think about it. And one of the main reasons I had to stop and think about it is because my story is about to become, and I'm not sure when it's going to happen. I'm thinking last I heard it was early summer, but my story is about to be made public. And I wanted to address it before it did. And the reason I wanted to do that is because of people like Natasha, actually, who, will take that and use it as some sort of weapon against me. Because there are people that, unfortunately, there are a lot of people who think that way and use information about people that way. And it wasn't even about Natasha at the time. I'm just using that as an example because it's somebody you all know. But I don't want that information being used as a weapon towards me. Because it's not something I'm ashamed of. And it's not, thank you, Liberty. I appreciate that. Thank you for dropping that. Exactly. Yeah. And just because I don't go into like a whole lot of details in one live, like I said, I'm very disorganized. So you guys are going to have to bear with me. I actually thought the first one I did was really awful, but then I listened to it and I'm like, you know what? This actually wasn't that. I thought I did a pretty good job actually, in hindsight, but it was hard. I woke up with nightmares that night. I literally threw up because of it. And this is bringing up a lot of stuff that I have not dealt with in my adult life. I was at these programs from age 14 to 17. And, because my parents paid to send me there, in my head, and my parents, they did the best they could. I don't hold this against them. They didn't know. People get conned, and these places are really good con artists. But that, I always thought the whole thing that was driven into my head is take accountability. Take accountability. You never take accountability. You're not the victim. You're not the victim. And I took that to heart as a 14-year-old. And I was like, okay, all right. So I'm not allowed to say that because what I put other people through is just awful. So, I'm not allowed to have feelings or anything like that. And I told myself that because my parents sent me there, right? It couldn't have been abusive, right? My parents wouldn't pay for me to be abused. I must have deserved it. It must be, it must have been right. And it turns out, guys, that, it certainly wasn't. And, think what you want about her, but Paris Hilton has been at the forefront of this. She came out about a year ago in her YouTube documentary kind of thing, This is Paris, where she revealed for the first time that she had been sent to some of these programs and had experienced insane amounts of abuse. And since then, people have been coming forward with their stories. And you know, it's bizarre because that's when things hit me too. I'm like, you know what? It wasn't right. And I've never been right since then. The stuff that I endured there has stayed with me the rest of my life. It has affected my ability to live. I've been to some really dark places. And, you know, I know that how I present myself today might sound like a success story, but it has nothing to do with them. I assure you of that. I am not the same person I was 2014 or so. Actually, I'd go as far to say 2017 when I was injured. I did a lot of work on myself. I really explored why and that's the other thing. If people are saying something's wrong, at what point do you take a step back and think, for lack of a better phrase, why is everybody picking on me? If somebody's saying your behavior is, mean or offensive, at what point do you take a step back and be like, before I play, not play victim, I hate that term, but before I point the finger at somebody else, right, teenage brains are not fully developed yet. Exactly. In fact, mine didn't until probably age 26, 27. Because she is so much more than that, Michelle. You are absolutely correct. So she's kind of been at the forefront of this, and I'm grateful to it because, she has the money, she's got the influence, and she's serious about this. She's not playing around. So she's producing the podcast that is listed on the thumbnail for this. It is called Trapped in Treatment. I believe that there should be 3 episodes released now. And yeah, there's a lot of it's very personal to me. I'm not directly involved in this particular season. I will be going forward, but my family has been very involved in it. That's all I'm going to say. And it's telling this Paris' story, and it's talking about the program she was at, and the program that Paris went to, it was actually, it's probably worse than even where I was. And where I was hell on earth. So, yeah, I'm right. I was about 28 when it fully clicked, and my whole way of thinking changed. And that, when you're a kid, your brain isn't fully developed. So things that feel like the end of the world to you, then, I would go into full on emo chick mode. If somebody didn't like me back the way I liked them, I was like, oh, how could I possibly go on? My life is awful and nobody's life is as bad as that's how you think at that age. And it's so ridiculous looking back on it because it's, it couldn't be further from the truth. You're just really that. I used to keep a journal, which I'm really grateful that I did. I called it, well, I'm not going to say what I called it, but I took throughout my entire experience, except for the wilderness program, because I don't have my writing from then, because you weren't allowed to bring any of your own belongings. You were stripped, and yeah, you did not have anything of your own. And let me tell you, getting strip searched at 14 years old is really traumatizing. I don't know what that is, Michelle. I don't know what that is. Should I recognize that? I'm embarrassed if I should recognize that. And everybody's brain develops differently, but when you're a kid like that, I don't know, it doesn't, to treat kids like that at their formative years, it's wrong. It's wrong because those are the years that, it should. Well, you want to know what else should be? Criminal Liberty Farmer. Thank you guys. Trigger warning. And, at the wilderness program, right? So if somebody was misbehaving and they were threatening, and guys, I hope I can say all these things. I think I can. If somebody was threatening self-harm or something like that, or to run, not that there's anywhere to go, you're in the middle of the woods in Georgia or Utah, you're not going anywhere. You're just not going anywhere. You're not going to get far anyway. They had dogs too. So, you would be forced. And sometimes it was all female staff. But not usually. Usually there was a female staff and a male staff. And these are young people, probably in their 20s. I don't think there was anybody older than 30. And then these are girls ages 14 to 18, 17 because nobody's going to stay afterwards. And what, if you were suspected of maybe, self-harm or something, You were made to sleep in between male staff members. And I don't think that's right. I thought that, and there were definitely some things going on, not with me. Nobody was interested in me, which is thank God. But there was definitely a staff member there who I suspected was being inappropriate with some of the girls. While I was there, I mean, I was a kid, so I wasn't like, I don't know what I thought at the time, but I didn't see anything. I don't know if I saw anything wrong with it at the time, to be honest. But there was, and I don't think it's appropriate for a grown man to be sleeping next to a 14 to 17-year-old girl. That, I think that's disgusting. I understand that, like, self-harm, because, to be fair, like, there have been people that have gone to wilderness, including somebody that I know, who actually had to watch somebody take their own life in front of them, which leaves them even more traumatized. And, you're in the middle of the woods. There's no ambulances. Like, it's nuts. I didn't have to, there was one girl who came in at, like, the day, 2 or 3 days before I actually left, who ended up being really challenging. I remember that was the first time I had ever seen somebody use the top of a canned fruit thing to try and hurt themselves. That was the first time I had ever seen anything like that, and it was horrifying. I'll never forget it. I mean, she didn't, she lived. I don't know. Like, but kids shouldn't have to see that. It's right. There are other ways, and that's the thing with the wilderness, because, like, I don't know. When you first get there, right? Like, and I'm going to be open about my life, guys. So, my life has kind of taken a different turn after high school because of what I went through. I had a really, really rough early adulthood, let me tell you. Really rough. I was not, I had demons. I definitely, and I still do, but, so, when I went there, I was sent there for, a variety of reasons, but I was misbehaving. I was acting out. I was 14. I was dating a 19-year-old. I was skipping school. I'm going to be honest on here. I don't care. This is what, like 20 years ago? I don't know. So I was smoking pot. I was skipping school. I was dating a 19-year-old. So, the whole, and I'm drinking on, stuff like that. So, as a parent, and my parents are, they adopted me when they were older. So they're very, really straight edge. And to them, that was really, really hard. And they didn't feel like they could control me, because I was, sneaking out of the house. I was doing a lot of, there were other things, but I was doing a lot of things that, as a parent, you're kind of horrified. I mean, I would be horrified now, if my child was doing that. I think I might have had a similar response, but, my dad and I actually talked, because he saw my live, which I didn't know he watched these. And we had a conversation. He's like, if you had if you like, is there anything that you needed to tell me about, what went on? If you had a bad experience, would you tell me? And, we talked about it, and I actually told them things I'd never told them before. So I was just, your typical run of the mill, not trouble teen. You know what I mean? But there were other things. I was stealing from my parents. Bad stuff that, I probably shouldn't have been doing. And you know what I mean? Don't get it twisted. I was 14, I'm 33. It was a very long time ago. And when I got brought there, most people have two men come in the middle of the night, and they come into your room. Your parents stand by, and they're told not to say anything. Sometimes you're handcuffed, and they say, we're going to do this the easy way, or we're going to do this the hard way. And they literally, your parents pay them to kidnap you. Now, I am probably one of the only people in existence that did not have that happen, because I went willingly. My parents told me the night before, we have decided that this is the best choice for you. We cannot keep you safe in our home. And, we think it would be good if you, went to this, because I had gotten into some trouble at school too, for having things I shouldn't have. So I kind of accepted it, because I kind of knew it was coming. And, my parents had put a motion detector on the stairs, so it would go off if I tried to leave the house. And or come down the stairs for that matter. And, you know, so I didn't even try to get out of it. I didn't even try. And I wasn't allowed to say goodbye to anybody. I wasn't allowed to tell anybody where I was going, but I went willingly. So my dad flew me down to Georgia. And then I was taken by two large men, in like an SUV, and they drove me, and I didn't know where I was going. And they drove me into the middle of the woods. I was strip searched, by female staff. But I've heard that that's not always the case. But when you're a child being strip searched, and I'm talking about strip searched in the way, well, Ectoshocker, I appreciate you saying that. However, right, when I was a kid, I wasn't, but the thing about that though, is when I got sent to these places, right, you know, I was always a kid that wanted to fit in. Fitting in was something that I desperately wanted. And when my entire group of peers were troubled teens, way worse than me, I started doing things to fit in with them. And it got worse. So, and I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's ironic. But right, when I got sent there, so I got brought in there and I was strip searched. And being strip searched the way that you would be strip searched going to prison is traumatizing for a child. I'm sorry. It just is. I will never forget it. And I didn't have a choice because they take everything that you own and you get everything given to you. And you know, I had been smoking cigarettes at the time. So, oh, no, Ectoshocker, I don't feel that you are. I don't feel that you are. No, I'm going all over the place. I know what you meant. And I appreciate your saying that because I thought I was like the worst of the worst for the longest time. And I always thought I was like the worst kid that ever lived. That's how I felt. And to hear people say that, no, I appreciate it. But you know, so that's the thing though. I really wasn't doing anything that was, you know, I don't know. I don't want to say that because there are things I'm not telling you guys. So I don't know. But regardless, I got brought in there. Right. And, you know, I was smoking, you know, my lungs weren't great. So hiking was a problem. And I know, Ectoshocker, I get it. So I was miserable. I was screaming and crying, and all the staff kept saying was 1 foot in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other. I couldn't even walk up the damn hill. And they give you a backpack that probably weighed as much as I did. And I blame half of my back problems on these backpacks that you were forced to walk 5 miles a day hiking in Georgia with no sunscreen, no bug spray, nothing like that. And sometimes even more. And you would get like maybe 1 or 2 rest days a week, but you don't have a watch. So you don't know what time it is. You don't know what day it is. But I remember the first experience I had with the other girls, and they had different phases. So they had earth phase was when you first came in, fire phase, water phase, and then air phase, and all had different like privileges, as much privileges as you could have living, you know, in between, like under a tarp and a sleeping bag. And I would sleep in puddles sometimes. Like there was no tents. I was a tarp and a sleeping bag. And if it rained, you were sleeping in a wet sleeping bag or with wet clothing and no dry clothing and there was no shower. It was disgusting. But you know, my first thing, so I go over, they let me out of the van, and you know, they're like, you can go sit over there. You can't say anything to anybody. So I was like, all right, I'll keep my mouth shut. And everybody was kind of quietly journaling. And the first thing that I heard, you know, out of somebody's mouth is somebody like, you know, looks up and asks the staff, they said, how do you spell heroin? And I was like, where am I? Why am I here? You know, because I had never done anything like that. Like that was like the furthest thing from something I had done at that time. And I was kind of like, oh my God, I must be really bad. You know, at 14, that's how my brain worked. You know, I'm speaking as like how I felt at 14. And I was like, what did I do? Like, where am I? And these were kids and apparently, according to my dad, I was in the lightweight group. So I was in the group of kids that had the least amount of problems. So I don't know. So there was some really, really crazy like stuff. So I wasn't allowed to speak to anybody. And, you know, to earn the privilege to even speak to any of your fellow girls over there, you had to write this thing called an accountability letter. And, you know, the other thing you had to do is you got an impact letter, which was a letter from your parents where they state everything that you did to end up at that program. And, you know, that was also traumatizing because there were some things that my mom wrote and I, in hindsight, I am almost sure that they encouraged her to write this the way that she did. So I had to, because, guys, trigger warning, this is, I want to put this out there before, it gets, put on display for everybody else to see that I said it. Because, so I, there were some, because I was dating a 19-year-old. So there was some stuff going on that, but it's not something that I wanted to read out loud to a group of, adults and other girls. There were words in there that I wasn't comfortable reading out loud. So I had to read all of that out loud to everybody. And I struggled. There were some words there that I definitely didn't want to say, because I wasn't mature. And I remember them at the therapist at the time. One of the things that he said to me that stuck out to me was, if you're not mature enough to talk about it, you're not mature enough to do it. And I don't know. But so, so I had to write an accountability letter, right? So in order to even have any human contact. So I was like writing things and I kept getting it handed back. They're like, nope, there's more. Nope, you're leaving stuff out. Nope, that's not it. You're lying. So I kept adding stuff. And to this day, until about a week ago, my parents thought I did things that I had never done before because they kept telling me I had to add more just to have like a social life, where I was. Food was really, really, really limited. There were some times where it would rain and a lot of the food would go bad. There was no fresh fruit. I mean, we would get fresh fruit and we got 1 apple a week. Other than that, we had canned fruit. There was no fresh vegetables except for like a couple. And if it went bad, that was it. You'd get a supply once a week and you'd get dry ramen, a jar of peanut butter, a thing of tortillas. And there were 2 meals. For dinner, it was beans and rice or tricolored pasta with really nasty tomato sauce. And then breakfast was dry oats, literally dry oatmeal. That's what you had to eat. A lot of us would mix it with canned fruit. But I lost a lot of weight. I came out of there very, very thin. I went from like a size 9, probably a size 10 to a size 4 while I was there. And I was there for 9 weeks. Because of all the exercise and like the food rationing. And it was just really, really disturbing. So this was literally outdoors. Yep. No cabins. Some of these places have cabins, but no. Everything that you lived with was in your backpack that weighed more than I did. And I probably did way more than I did. And right. So you like your shelter would be like, if there were 2 trees, you would tie the tarp between 2 trees and then stake it down. You got they called it a ho-ho. I don't know. It's like a sleeping pad that, gives you at least something like away from the ground, and a sleeping bag. And that's it. So like if it rained and sometimes you were on a hill because everybody would fight for like the good spots to put their little shelter. And I would, there were times that, and it was in Georgia, it rains a lot there. There's a lot of thunderstorms. Like I was terrified for my life. And many times there were times that we were, hiking in a river with like, because one of the staff wants to do, some crazy hike, and there's strong currents, there's poisonous snakes. There's a lot of bugs, spiders. I still have scars all over my legs from being eaten alive by bugs. And I remember my parents always made it sound like a joke, and I always just kind of have to laugh. I laugh to humor them, but I actually have never thought it was funny. Apparently when they came to pick me up, the staff told them, just prepare yourself. She's got a lot of bug bites all over her legs, and like it's something funny, but I still have scars to this day all over my legs from these bug bites. Cause you couldn't have bug spray. There was no sunscreen. And I just, it was traumatizing for me. It was really traumatizing. And, some of it was helpful. Like it definitely got me out of I want to touch on some of the positives because it wasn't all bad. Because I like to be fair. I know there were people that had way worse experiences than me. So mine is actually tame comparatively. I actually never really had too much of an issue with the wilderness part of it compared to where, if you guys think this is bad, wait till you hear about the Hyde School. Right. So, it's not, and I had, it was crazy. Like, I don't know. It is abuse in any way that you look at it. A lot of the time, like, there was some good things though. Like I was always really, really shy and really quiet. And I was never a leader. I was always kind of like in the background. And the one thing that this place did do for me is it got me out of my shell, and it gave me a leadership role. Actually, I was in charge of the chore wheel, which, you know, in my head, I thought I was getting away with not having to do any of the chores that I didn't like. But I'm sure the staff knew what I was doing, because I would always make sure that, because I would give myself a job that like a lot of other people didn't like. So I'm like, well, look, I'm digging the latrine. So, you know, I'm certainly not rigging it, because I didn't mind doing it, to be honest. What I didn't like is embarrassing myself trying to throw a rope over like a huge branch that like my weak, skinny arms couldn't do. And it was, no, well, Amanda, that's the interesting thing though. So until my dad saw what I had said on my first live about this, he did not know that I had had a bad experience at this wilderness program. And the reason for that is that I never said anything because I was terrified of being sent back. So of course I was on my very best behavior when I, you know, and there was also at one point I got in a lot of trouble at one of the boarding schools I went to, and there was a talk of sending me back, and I was like, nope, no, that's not going to happen. But I even have gone so far as to talk to other parents to convince them to send their child there. Because my parents didn't know. Like, I want to be really clear about that. Like, I haven't always had the best relationship with them. Like I've said a million times, I went from maybe seeing them a handful of times a year and speaking to them, probably just as few times, to living with them. So we have really had to, I don't live with them anymore, but like when I got hurt, I needed, I was there from like spring 2017 to winter 2017, because I couldn't take care of myself, after I got hurt. And I really had to work through that with them. And our relationship is much better now. I think we have a really good relationship now, actually. But, you know, they didn't know. So, and I don't know if what I said changes their opinion of the wilderness program, because I know that they liked a lot of things about it, but I would hope that maybe it changes it a little bit. I mean, the one thing we can all agree on is the place I went after that should be burned to the ground. I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm allowed to say, in my opinion, allegedly, in my opinion, everybody. But yeah, I was very introverted. So I had to take on a leadership role, which was completely new to me. But you're in like your own little microcosm. So like nobody was cool. We were all gross, dirty, and like nasty. So like there was no queen bee of like people that, you know, I wasn't even like, after I went out, the first place I wanted to go was Burger King. They wouldn't even let me inside because I was so gross. I'm 33. Extra shocker. I'm 33. I remember like the first thing, and everybody was always like, oh yeah, the first time you leave, you know, you can't eat real food. And they weren't joking, man. Like I couldn't eat real food for a long time because I was just so used to eating like the same thing every single day and really small rations of it. Like there was, you know, once it was gone, and there was 8 girls. And you had to finish your food too, no matter how disgusting it was. So sometimes people wouldn't chop up the cloves of garlic very well. So I would just take them like a pill because you had to eat it. Like there's no way around it. Like nobody was moving on with their day until you eat. Well, it's very legal and people pay. I don't even, you know, and like I come from a place of privilege. And you know, I'm grateful for that. But you know, my parents struggled to pay for all of this. Like, you know, at least they told me they did. I don't know if that was to make me feel bad, but I hope not, because my parents are really good people. They're not malicious like that. So the wilderness program, that's news to my parents. So there's been no talk of that. The place I went to next is like the worst part of it that everybody can agree with, and that is the people that are going to try and shut me down saying it. That's why I'm not really going into it tonight. But yeah, they have already tried to strike me. And I did edit out enough of it that they will let me keep my video up. However, and I'm not taking everything out because they can, you know, for lack of a better, they can suck it. Like I'm not taking my video down. And I'm not taking out everything that they want. So we are going to, did I fail the first program? Well, yeah. Well, at the first program, I never bought in. It was a literal cult. Well, are you talking about my wilderness program or where I went after? I didn't fail. So at the wilderness program, I actually made it up to water phase, which gets you a flashlight. That's the big perk of that. You get a flashlight, which is nice because before that, there's no lights and there was no flashlights and you couldn't see at night. And, you know, you went to the bathroom in the woods. Oh, and you couldn't just go to the bathroom either. You had to scream your own name every like 3 seconds or they sent somebody looking for you. So like you literally I had to scream Emma over and over and over again whenever I was out of sight of the staff, or else they would come looking for you. And that was really weird, and I was really, really creeped out by that at first, which I kind of understand why they do it, but at the same time, it's hard to get used to. It's hard to get used to. So yeah, it's bizarre. It's bizarre. But I didn't fail. No, I think I was, they actually kept me, lucky me. I found out after they kept me there longer because I was a leader and I was holding the group together, apparently. And, so I wasn't a failure, although I did get my flashlight taken away eventually, because I had ramen in my shelter, because I was hungry and I kept it in my pocket instead of putting it up with the bear hang bag. Yep, this is a youth program. That's right, Ectoshocker. So this is a wilderness program in Georgia called Second Nature Blue Ridge. They have 2 locations. They have one in Utah, and they have one in the Blue Ridge Mountains in Georgia. I was at the one in Georgia. They are both operational today, and they have expanded since. They have expanded since I've been there. Now they have many, many groups, and lots of people get sent there. And I've heard that I've heard it's gotten even worse. Yeah. See, the thing in Navigator, you don't have a choice. Like I would yell and scream. And I felt like, Draco Malfoy saying my father's going to hear about this, because I can't tell you how many times I said that. And they would just be like, well, your parents aren't here. Your parents aren't here. One foot in front of the other, Emma. The whole group is going to have to wait in this baking, like, hot sun, or else you do this thing that you're not comfortable with and having a panic attack over because I'm afraid of heights. But, they don't care. You had to do it. And, Chicky, buddy, I'll let you in a second. I'm sorry. Chicory, he has the most pathetic little meow too. And he's meowing at the door. I don't want to let him in here though, because he's going to go under the bed and chew on plastic if he can find it. Like, he'll take plastic out of the trash basket. So Ectoshocker, this is in both things. So this where I went was a private program. But they, it's interesting you actually bring that up, because there are court-ordered ones, like cheap versions. When I graduated college, I went to work for one of the court-ordered ones, because I thought I could give back. It ended up triggering me very badly, and it went into a very bad downward spiral. I never really quite realized why until recently. So where I went, it's a private program, which makes it actually even worse, because there's no government oversight, none, zero. They can do whatever they want, and your parents pay for them to do it. Whereas at the court-ordered one, there is some state oversight, but, there's some bad stuff that happened there as well. I witnessed it. I was a mandated reporter while I worked there, and there was a point where I had to be the whistleblower. I live up north, and they weren't giving the kids, like, winter jackets. And if you're living outside and not giving the kids winter jackets, that's abuse. That's wrong. And I said something. And they didn't like that very much. But, I'm not going to let kids go. And I live up in Rhode Island. Like, it's cold here in the wintertime. It's cold. But there's both kinds. The ones that I went to are private. Yes. So right. Yep. And they do. And it's child abuse for profit. And it all started, I don't know, a lot of people that are into true crime have seen, there's a documentary. I actually haven't watched it because it would trigger me really badly, actually. It's about the Elan School. I don't know if some people have heard of the cult of Synanon. All of these programs are like offspring of those places. A lot of it is actually graduates of those programs who went on to continue the abuse for themselves. And it's like this never-ending cycle, and these places keep popping up. So what Paris Hilton is trying to do is get federal legislation passed to have government oversight on these programs. Because right now there isn't, especially in Utah. It's really bad in Utah. And that's why a lot of these people, yes, Ectoshocker, you're not wrong there, and you're not wrong. I actually thought crossed my mind about the McCamey Manor stuff. Like, the Hyde School is very much like that. Very, very much like that, let's find out everything that makes you tick and that you're afraid of, and then subject you to all of it and laugh because it's funny because they're sadistic. Yes, Boys Town. Yep. A lot of these places are very similar, whether it's, through the state or if it's private, it's all based on the same premise of just not best practice. Except, at least some things have a little bit of state. But what Paris Hilton's trying to do is put federal oversight on these so they can no longer operate the way that they do. And that's very scary to these places because that's how they make their money. A lot of it's very cult-like. My next episode about this, I'm gonna talk about the other place that I was at. And like I said, if anybody wants to do their own research, I mean, from the outside, these places look really great, and they look like just the thing that parents are looking for, and they get duped. And a lot of the time, the parents buy into it. It's very, very cult-like. They're like, give us your kid. We have the answers. We can change them. You trust the process. It's a creepy old man leader. Like Hyde School's got the works. So I was at the location in Woodstock, Connecticut, and it is no longer in function. Thank God. But you did. Yeah. So she's actually, I never thought that my life would ever intersect Paris Hilton's. I never ever thought that in my wildest imagination that would ever happen. Yet here we are. So yeah, I did not watch it because it's triggering to me as well. Very triggering to me. And you don't realize how much this stuff affects you until like you're watching something about it and you just can't breathe because you're crying so hard. And then I'm like, what is going on? Why does this affect me like this? And then, there's no ifs, ands, or buts around it. It was abuse. And she hasn't matured, and she's on a mission. Like she is not going to stop. And she has the influence. She has the money. She can really make a difference. And, I think she said in the first part of the podcast that, I'm discussing, I'm trying to find a way to be able to play it for you guys without getting in trouble for doing so. I didn't realize, it sucks. Let's say you're on a TV show, right? You can't even play a video of yourself on here without getting in trouble. Like, if it's me talking, why can't I play it? I don't know. I don't get that. Yeah, there's no minimal food. Yeah, well, yep. Wilderness programs, they probably are. There's a whole lot of different kinds. There are some, wilderness, the whole premise of wilderness therapy isn't, inherently evil. There are some, my dad has, my dad said that there's one that, is relatively, well, that he can support, and they have cabins, and it's a lot more regulated. I guess it's called True North. It's in Vermont, I think. But I'm not sure. I have no experience. I've never heard anything about it, but it can be done. The whole model of it isn't inherently evil. It's just a lot of the time creeps are drawn to jobs like this, and there's no requirements. Like you don't need a counseling degree. You don't need anything. These are kids straight out of college or high school that come in here, and a lot of them are creeps. Or just really, really like masochistic people who, kind of get off on that kind of stuff. I'm not sure about that if they're not the heirs. I know that she mentioned in that documentary that her brand, she was really worried about hurting her brand by speaking out, but and how sad is that you have to worry about that, and I was like, what, as a really small YouTube creator, I mean, I can't help but understand. The minute you don't talk about what's popular or what people, what the brand you've built, the minute you do that, anything you say and do. But it's working out well for her because people actually care. And so many people have actually been brave enough to come forward. So many people, including myself. I never thought I would talk publicly about this. I often didn't even want to deal with it. But I kind of was forced to. And I don't want like I've said, I want my story out there in my words, on my terms, before it gets put out there. It was my choice to put it out there, but you guys know what I'm trying to say. Yeah, she's made herself into a brand, and I mean, like I said, like she's a lot more than just the that's hot, like with her Chihuahua, and I mean that it's funny because like I still can't tell. I'm not gonna tell my dad doesn't watch South Park, but there's an episode of South Park that kind of pokes fun at her, and like unfortunately, like when I used to think of her, that's kind of what came to mind. Yeah, her parents are the Hiltons, exactly. She's so much more than that. She's very smart. She's very business savvy. She's really, really articulate, really intelligent woman. And I don't think a lot of people see that. And I think it's like kind of her brand for people not to, I guess. But I have a lot of respect for her. And you know what? I'm going to be honest. I'm going to come out and say it right now. The perfume that she put out in that early 2000s, it didn't smell half bad. I liked it. I don't like her skincare line, though. Kind of sucks. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. I got that as part of like an influencer thing. Yeah. 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 She got married recently, too. But she said that how much her experience with that has really, really, really impacted her, ability to be in relationships and trust. And it definitely changed my what I went through at the Hyde School. Definitely affected my ability to be close to people and my ability to be around men, I guess, because I was terrified for a very long time after that. I didn't like to be alone with anybody. That's all I'm going to say about that for here. And I know people that endured a lot worse than I did. There are a few people that have actually been interested in coming up on my panel. They're not like on YouTube or anything, but they're people that I know that I'm friends with, and they want to tell their stories too. One of them's story is way, way worse than anything that I could ever tell. Not that there's any measure or competition with, with pain and experiences. But I remember what happened to her, and the difference between us, I think, really was that her parents bought into this thing hook, line, and sinker, and their family ate, lived, breathed the Hyde process, and it was hell for her. She couldn't get away from it. She was dealing with it at home. She was dealing with it at school, and she hasn't been able to live a normal life since. And I don't think she's going to take that personally for me saying it, because she hasn't. She hasn't. She's a really great person. But she just, for whatever reason, she just can't find her way because of all the crap that happened to her. It's really sad. It's really sad because a lot of us weren't like, necessarily bad kids. I don't think any kid is bad. But just for lack of a better term, a lot of us weren't bad kids going into it. But when you throw someone like me who's desperate to fit in and wants to make friends in with a group of kids that are doing things that are, if I was at a 2 or at like an 11, I'm gonna, at that point in my life, I would do anything to fit in, and those were my peer group, and it got out of control from there. And then I really started making bad choices for real. Let's see, someone bid and wanna. Really? I don't remember that. That's crazy. That's crazy. I had no idea about that. I don't like real life stuff. I don't like that. I don't think anybody's medications or any medical thing is anybody's business. If I'm honest, that's crazy though. It makes you wonder how it ended up in the public storage container. But yeah, I mean, I always come on here worrying that I'm boring, or that, people. Yeah, I know. Well, Michelle, there are also things that I'm not gonna speak on, about what I was doing. But it wasn't anything, but like it got worse from there. I ended up actually making very bad choices, and I ended up getting in quite a lot of trouble after that. Especially after I left Hyde. I had the place I went to after Hyde was actually a really great place. It's a really small boarding school in Vermont, in Burlington, Vermont, right on Lake Champlain. Like my dorm room had a view of Lake Champlain. It was beautiful, right? What is normal anyway, exactly. And my graduating class was like 8 kids, so it's tiny school called the Rock Point, and they do it right. Like I have nothing bad. I mean, I got in trouble because I was a troublemaker at that. Like I was making some bad choices at that point. I was a force to be reckoned with, and I don't think anybody's going to argue that. I gave them a run for their money, but they were really good to me, and they were. I wish I had gone there from the start, honestly. And it's but they were good to me. So I can't say anything bad about where I spent my junior and senior year. But I will talk about where I spent my sophomore year. And I'll talk about it till I'm blue in the face, until I can't anymore, because they need to go. They need to go. And they don't like me here on YouTube. They're very active on YouTube, and they picked up on it almost immediately. They don't like it. But here's the thing, like, it's called free speech. I'm allowed to say whatever I want on here. Like, if you don't want, like, it makes you look bad if you're trying to like hide the truth. If you have nothing to hide, then why is it a problem if I speak on it? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. And they can't quiet everything. And they do quiet quite a bit. I was warned about it going into this, though, guys. I was warned. I was warned that there's, especially if I start using hashtags involving them, I might not do that just because I don't want to bring really awful cult people into my chat because you guys don't need to deal with them. And they can, I don't need anybody here being subjected to the Hyde process and their attack therapy because, I think that'd be really triggering to a lot of people that have, had to deal with, some things in Natasha's chat. Because it's very similar. It feels similar anyway, at least to me. But yeah, I came on here thinking I don't want to be too boring. I want to be engaging and stuff with that. Because this is something really personal to me. And I know it's not like drama, but I also, right. Yeah. If they strike one, right. I'm not going to shut up, Liberty. I'm just not doing it. And I have an army of support behind me, legally, mentally, everything. So, they could, this isn't like, no, not going to happen. Oh, does she? Okay. I'll check her out, Michelle, for sure. I've never heard of it. Hector Shocker, I appreciate that. Like I said, everybody, when they come onto YouTube, they're going to put their best foot forward. Some people don't. Some people are really real about like their past and things like that. And I think that's really awesome. I think I admire people being open like that publicly. So I'm not criticizing people who do that. I spent most of my young adulthood in some really dark places that I don't want to bring onto YouTube. You're not going to find a criminal record on me, not in my adult life. I don't know. Natasha seems to think all of us have felonies. Not that there's anything wrong with having a criminal record. I don't know why she throws that like it's an insult. But at the same time, like, you're not going to find that on me. But I think a lot of that had to do with other factors. I went to a really dark place. I'm going to be very open about that. But I'm not that person anymore. And I am very interesting. I definitely am. I've had a really interesting life. I've been some cool places. I come from a very interesting family. There's a lot of things I wish I could share on here, but I don't, just because it's YouTube and anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of YouTube. So I try to limit because I'm an oversharer. I'm actually incredibly open. And if I had it my way and I had no like restrictions on my mind, I would tell everything. But I know how things sound. And I know that things that I've done in my adult life, not in the not even so distant past, would be twisted and used. And I just want to not even put it out there because you're not going to find it on the internet. So if I don't say it, it doesn't exist. Right. But that's just how, yeah. So I have the utmost respect for people who are open about certain things. I'm just not ready to be open about certain things in my life. Not, just because I'm trying to, because I don't think anybody, is a bad person. Like, I think that things get held against people that really shouldn't be held against them in a lot of ways. I think like how you behave now in the moment, and consistently, it really shows who you are. And, I'll be comfortable saying, like, my dad was a member of the parole board, where we lived, whatever, for 24 years. And he was kind of from the psychological aspect. And, if I learned anything from him, it's that change is a thing, but don't get played. And he actually has a cool video about it, but it's like, I truly believe that change is legit and that people can change and it's real, but you got to be careful because a lot of people are going to try and play you too. So I live with that. I live by that, but I do believe that change is real. I do. And I don't mean like just change because I definitely have, I went from somebody who I didn't even want to look at myself in the mirror to somebody that I'm really happy with and proud of. And, I don't know. A lot of the ways my injury was a blessing and a curse. It really forced me to work through my issues in a really short amount of time. And, as much as it sucks to have like a spine injury that is really debilitating sometimes, mentally I've never been better. So, You know, and before I got hurt, I was in like the best physical shape that somebody could possibly be in. Like I was really into fitness. So, you know, it was kind of just flipped here. But now my brain is really fit. Yes, I went there. Growth is attractive, right? Like that's what I'm saying. Like I don't hold Natasha's criminal record against her for the reasons that people think. And I don't hold it against her at all. I just play, you know, all it does to me, I'm not going to hold it over her head and say, you know, you're a bad person because you have a criminal. No, I would never do that. What it does indicate, though, is patterns and behaviors. And if it's continuing, then there's no change, is there? That's the difference. That's the difference. You know, if you make a mistake and then you go years and years and years and years, and, you know, sometimes people just get better at not getting caught. Sure, that's a thing. But a lot of the time people, you know, I always see the best in people. I can't help it. I can't help it. And I get burned sometimes for it. You know, I'll be the first one to say. You know, and Audrey, I think that's what a lot of us here have in common. I think a lot of us have had unique life experiences, at least from what I've seen in the chat. Like a lot of people have had some really tragic stuff happen in their lives. I've seen some really awesome success stories. I've seen some people that have just done some really interesting stuff. I don't know, for whatever reason, the true crime community maybe as a whole, but at least I'm only really familiar with here. But there's a lot of really amazing, interesting people in this community. And I think that's what draws us here, despite all of the drama. I don't know. I think that's something else that we, you know, a lot of us have in common. And I think that's why a lot of us stick around. And that's what makes me even madder when there's like drama like there is, because a lot of people use this as a place to connect with people and, you know, maybe get to realize that they're not alone. And, you know, if people don't even trust being able to come on here because they're afraid that what they're saying in the chat is going to get screenshot and like share, you know, people don't want to talk. You're right, Amanda. Change is possible. Right, Amanda. I'm not gonna pin your comment, but you know, I was in a similar boat. 100%. You know, like I said, up until like 5 years ago, I was not my best self all the time, and I've really grown from it, and and it's never too late either. It's never too late to turn your life around. I was in a dead-end job that I hated. Very physical job. Literally was breaking my back for a company that didn't appreciate me. And then when I actually broke my back, you know, it gave me the wake-up call that I needed, that, you know, I don't have an income right now, except for, you know, the couple clients I have that I do social media for. But I'm a full-time grad student. I'm going to get my master's in something that I can do. So I can, you know, live, you know, so I can provide for myself. It's going to take a while. But you know, I'm not going to get stuck. I'm going to keep going. I am very tenacious. And it's a lot of work, and you know, there's a lot of sacrifices. Like, you know, I don't have, you know, I was trying to do it all. I was trying to work full time, like as close to full time as I can. And I was trying to be a full-time grad student, and then my side hustle on it was too much. It was too much. So, you know, losing my job was kind of also a blessing in disguise, I guess, in some ways. It took a lot of stress off of me. Hey, Irvin. But it, you know, at the same time, it is stressful. So I like coming on here to unwind. And you're right. It's never too late. Like, I went to school for what I went to school for because I thought, and it's no fault of theirs, so I want to be very clear. I thought it was going to make my parents happy because it's kind of the family business. So social work and criminal justice is the family business. And I wanted to make them happy more than anything else in the world at that point. So I went for criminal justice. And I thought that I could give back. I thought that I could, you know, take my experiences and use it as a positive thing. But all it did was trigger me. And I really was not well for the time that I was working there mentally. And, you know, now here I am going to school for digital marketing, which is what I should have done in the first place, because I'm very creative. I'm very good at that. I love it. I like business, to be honest. For the most part, I don't like the economic numbers and stuff because I don't understand it. But I have to figure it out for my school. But yeah, it's never too late, guys. Never, ever, 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 ever. You know, I mean, 40 is the new 20. So I stand by that. Like I was feeling like, I know I'm not old, guys. I know I'm not old. But, you know, I was, you know, I was, you know, I don't know. It was hitting me that I'm like, your own, I've said it before, like, I had never really even, like, acknowledged my age until very recently. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I keep saying, I'll just wait for it to get better. It'll get better. I'll just wait. Well, I'm biding my time forever. Nothing's going to change or else I make it change. So I could spend the rest of my life waiting for something to happen, or I could make it happen. And I know I sound like a motivational poster right now, but I had to look at it that way. And it was the kick I needed to do it. Believe me. Because I can't just stand there and wait for something to happen. Like, it doesn't work like that. Life doesn't. I mean, sometimes life works out like that. Sometimes you get lucky, but a lot of the time you got to work for what you've got. And and like I said, like, having a good quality of life, it doesn't mean that you get up and you go to work. Sometimes having a meaningful life just means getting out of bed that one day and making yourself a cup of coffee, and that's it. Like, sometimes that's what you accomplish, and that should be seen as an accomplishment. That's just how I view the world. Like, and I didn't used to before I got hurt. So in your 20s, yes, if I had known, I spent my entire, if nothing changes, nothing changes. Yeah. I spent my entire childhood wanting to grow up so badly, because I was bullied mercilessly by children my own age. Because I was not always, I used to be, yeah. Well, I used to be the fat kid. I know it's hard to believe looking at me now, in that picture, or at all in general. Nobody usually believes me, but trust me, there are people in here that have seen my pictures, and I can totally vouch for it. Picture, it didn't happen. Like, what I'm talking about, like, before I was a teenager, but I was bullied, and then I kind of grew into it. But that's what I hope, Anxious for Peace. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm glad Renee's here. I know that you've said that you've had some experiences. I think you said somebody in your family, forgive me if I don't know who in your family it was. I didn't see that. But you guys were having a really good conversation. I was trying to read it, but the chat started going. But I like that there's some, that's the thing. If I can like give somebody a platform, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, my email is at the bottom there. If anybody here is watching, and for some reason they're from, your niece. Okay. I was going to say your niece, but I was like, maybe it's her daughter. I thought it was your niece. Yeah. Okay. All right. I was right. I thought I read it correctly. The chat started going right as like that was going by. And I encourage people to tell their stories when they're ready, because a lot of the time it's not easy. And sometimes you're not ready until you're ready. I mean, I got out of there at 17 and I am 33 now. So almost 33 and a half, somehow. So, it takes a lot, but if anybody's seeing this and you want a platform, from my audience might not be enormous, but I do get, I know that some people scoff at it and laugh, but like, for me, the fact that 200 to 300 people watch my lives is just incredible to me. Like, I know that that gets laughed at and kind of mocked places, but I see that as something really awesome. I never thought anybody, I'm amazed anybody listens to me. So, I'm really grateful to that. So to some that might not seem like an audience, but to me that's a pretty good audience. So if anybody is, wants to tell their story, or, even wants to talk, please feel free to email me. Because I can't promise you I'll get back to you in a particularly timely fashion, because I do have a family. I do have kind of like my side hustle, part-time job. I make my own rules with that, but I'm grateful to the clients I have. So if they say jump, I say how high, and that could be at all hours. But I do try to get back to people, and just know that, like, sometimes I'll shoot you a quick email and say, I've seen your message. But usually I want to be able to sit down, because I write long messages, guys. Like, get ready for a novel or an essay, because I like to write and I like to talk, and it shows in my writing. So, yeah. So, hold on, Michelle. Oh, yeah. Like, kids are cruel, and it's even worse now, guys. It's even worse. Like, with the cyberbullying and stuff, like, I don't know how I would have handled that. Because, like, when I was a kid, all that we had was like AOL Instant Messenger and like MySpace. Like, when I was like just getting out of high school, I didn't have a MySpace until I was like a senior in high school. It didn't exist. We had LiveJournal and AOL Instant Messenger, which, there was some nastiness that went on there. That's for sure. And Yahoo chat rooms. But it's nothing like today. Good God. I don't know. I think I might have been even worse if there had been social media the way it is now. I don't know how a lot of kids do it, and because it's in your face and you don't get away from it ever. But yeah, well, my son, I do social media work. Like I literally had a very large platform on Instagram before I was taken down by petty behind the scenes nonsense. And I'm not making that mistake again. I had almost 129,000 followers, and I'm very salty about it. I had other I still have it up on not YouTube, on Facebook, and the community still grows. Like I have several thousand on there, and I haven't posted in 5 years, so I don't really know. Yeah. Well, the internet, I mean, I didn't have access to a lot of it when I was at these programs, but yeah, cell phones too. I didn't have texting till I was 19, guys. Like, my parents actually thought it was going to be a flop. They I was on the family plan, and my parents were like, nope, we're not getting this because it's going to be a flop. It's just a gimmick. It's gimmicky. And now they text more than I do. So it is. Yeah, I'm glad there wasn't socials when high school was bad, hard enough. And nowadays, I don't know. That's why it bothered me when Natasha said what she said about, if her kid came to her and said that they were being bullied on the internet, she would be embarrassed. That's why it bothered me so much. Because, if you're a parent, you see what these kids are capable of, and there's no oversight a lot of the time. And kids, they're going to be on their phones. So they're not going to, they have it at school. They come home, they're still attached to the phone, and, they never put the phone down. They never log off. It doesn't matter what anybody says. And they compare themselves a lot to people on there, and it's hurtful. And it's hard to, tell them that, it's not, it's not going to feel like this forever. Cause to them, it does feel, your brain's not developed. It doesn't work. It's hard. It's hard to watch. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Audrey. I actually, middle school was probably I don't know. Middle school is when I started to kind of, well, no, you know what? I always had a hard time. I'm not even going to say I had any good times, except for maybe in high school, which is bizarre to say. You had a pager? I never had a pager. I got a cell phone. Actually, I got a cell phone when they first came out, to be honest. But I think it was more because my mom's like a safety freak. I had it taken away pretty quickly after that, I'll tell you that. But I've only ever had 2 phone numbers in my entire life, one of which was for 1 year. And I've had the same phone number since I was 17, maybe. And I've never changed it. I know people that have gone through 8 or 9 different phone numbers at this point. Yeah, I'm glad that you guys showed up for this, and I'm glad that a lot of people here, actually, we're here to hear that. It literally, you guys have been so supportive. It's not even, I can't even express to you how grateful I am for that. Because my biggest fear, and not even that nobody would show up, but I don't know what my fear was. It's hard for me. I'm gonna I do get nightmares from stuff like this, and I get very physical reactions. So I definitely did. I woke up and I threw up. I was so anxious and worked up. So I'm going to try and wind down. I'm a huge nerd, so I'm probably going to embarrass myself right now really badly, but there's a new Pokemon game. So I've been playing it. It's quite fun. I have to have something to keep my mind off things, guys. I have to, and I can embrace my inner child. Actually, speaking of Pokemon, I have a fun story about that for another time. But because yeah, I've done so, like I said, guys, I have done some really cool stuff. My favorite video game, though, I love Fallout New Vegas. That is my jam. That is my go-to. But I play through it every single year. I'm usually around summertime. I'll go in and start playing it. But for whatever reason, I just love that game. I can't even explain it. It's really glitchy. It's awful. But yeah, there's a new Pokemon game, and it's big open world, and it's pretty cool. So I'm enjoying it. I don't have a whole lot of, yeah. Well, Pokemon came out when I was a kid, so to be fair, it's not weird that I speak of it. It just happens to still be popular now. It's when it first came out, I still have my copy of the red version. It's actually on my bookcase, so I have it on display. I doubt it works. I still have my original Game Boy as well. none of us here are old. I see the demographic, and actually, like, you know, the age group that I talk to here, you guys, like, that's my people. I always hung out with adults growing up because I didn't like kids my own age ever. So I'm right at home amongst people that are older than me, and none of you guys. 40's the new 20, guys. 40's the new 20, and if my analytics are correct, most of you are kind of in that range. So no shame in that. You guys are all awesome, and if you hang out with me here, you have to be cool. Like, you know, there's nobody that's not cool that comes in here and hangs out with me and spends their time listening to me and hanging out and chatting with me. Like, you have to be cool to do that. But that's just my opinion. Well, you know, it's interesting. YouTube will show you your demographics. So my primary demographic for my channel is women between the ages of 45 and 54. So, and there's very, very little. I have some people that apparently are like 65 plus that watch me as well, which is interesting. I'm like, I don't know if, I mean, nobody ever asks anybody's age though. So I don't know. I probably talk to people that are, you know, that's kind of my parents' age group. That is my parents' age group. And apparently I have like a 1% people under the age of 18, which is a little strange to me. But you know, that's cool too. You know, we put up, you know, B+ after dark. Like, but you know, you have to, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Like I love that, like, all age groups kind of appeal to, that come here. That's great to me. I think that's awesome, because a lot of time, like, generations kind of have this divide, right? And we all, like, you know, criticize, you know. I think when push comes to shove, though, I think we all have a lot more in common than when we think sometimes. We all grew up in different times and, like, have different life experiences, but we're all human, and, like, you know, we can come together and talk about certain things. And I really like that. I actually have no idea how old a lot of people are, and a lot of the time I wouldn't have guessed it. And I always use my friend Rody Gal as an example. She might not be listening. She might be in bed by now. But, you know, I would, she doesn't look her age. She doesn't act her age in the best ways. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just bad at putting my finger, but yeah, I could have sworn she was my age. But, you know, that's the thing. Like, there are people that look real young. There are people that look older. You know, I'm terrible at it. I am the last person that should be guessing anybody's age ever. Because I'll usually probably err towards something that's offensive, and completely by accident. But yeah, I mean, because a lot of times, like, I can't see your guys' pictures, and a lot of times you guys have like not even your picture as it, and you know, I just feel like I'm talking amongst peers to all of you. I don't feel like I'm talking to anybody who's, you know, any different than me. I think that's really neat on YouTube. I'm not gonna lie, that's actually really cool. That's really cool. Because, you know, a lot of the time, like with my parents' age people, I always feel uncomfortable around it. Like, I feel like I have to be on, like, my best behavior, but I don't know a lot of people's age. So apparently there are people my parents' age on here, and I feel real comfortable, and we all fit in, and we all talk just fine. Which is awesome. Yeah, I can't see to begin with. I can barely read the chat. So really, you know, I'm not gonna lie, from the picture that I can see of you, I can see why a little bit. That's interesting. Yeah, there you know, there's certainly some fun people in the community and on YouTube. But I can see that from the picture that you have up there. I'm not gonna lie to you. From what I've seen but from the tiny picture, just from where I've worked my eyes being as bad as they are, I don't think I've ever seen you. I think I've just heard your voice. I don't think I've ever seen you on panel, that I know of. But I think it's kind of neat. Yeah. Yes, Renee. I don't. I like the people here. You all are great. You all are great. Oh, you're gonna be a grandma? That's awesome. Is it your first grandchild? If so, that's like, I mean, I've been told that's you know, it's always exciting, but that's kind of the real exciting one. I wouldn't know yet, thankfully. But that's awesome. Congratulations. That is great. That's always exciting. That's always exciting. Yeah, especially if it's the first, you know. You don't want to pick favorites, but the first one, that's always exciting. Is it, like, you know, that's awesome. Congratulations, Michelle. I'm waiting for that with my sister. It won't be long. Won't be long. They got married about a year ago. I know they won't have kids, but I'm waiting for it. But you know, times are Renee. Really, I don't go to a lot. I sound like Natasha here. I don't go to a lot of people's chats. And sometimes it's purposely and other times it's not purposely. It's just that I don't spend when I spend time on here, I go to channels that I'm familiar with and that I've like connected with. So like a lot of the time it's the same people. So I don't yeah, me too, Michelle, more on the first side there. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know a lot of people, and like sometimes I feel weird that I don't. Like I feel like if I'm in this community, I should know who they are. But that's why I've been trying to kind of make my rounds and go into say hello places. Because I don't ever, and I really encourage people, don't ever take somebody's word about how somebody is. You know, go see for yourself, because you can't always judge a book by its cover. I've learned that time and time again. Because just because somebody else has an issue with somebody doesn't mean that you will. And sometimes other people's problems don't need to be yours. And I know that sounds very blunt, but I mean that. And I've had to learn that myself, because I also, I go hard for people that I care about, to a fault, for people that would not do the same for me, and constantly. So I kind of had to reel it in and be like, you know what? Yeah, like me buzzing. Yeah, right. And I've been trying to do that recently, Amanda. I've been doing it purposely, because I want to get to know more of the community. Like, I see a lot of names get thrown around, but I don't actually know who that person is. So, I don't want to jump on a bandwagon of hate if I don't know who the person is. I'm not comfortable doing it. And if I don't like something that person is doing to somebody else that I like, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it, but I'm not going to jump on a big hate wagon. Like, I can't do that. It's just not for me. Not for me. I like to see things for myself. And that's why, I will even let Natasha Cooper have her say. Like, I was not going to speak on anything until I heard her side. And I'm glad I did, because it turns out that she didn't do the thing that she was accused of. So I'm glad I hold my tongue and I waited to hear her side. So I think there's some validity in doing that. I do too. I'm glad to have you here, Amanda. I know that I see you all over the place, but I'm glad that you take the time to come here. And I see a lot of you guys elsewhere. And like I said, just because I say something about somebody, like, it doesn't mean I don't like them. It doesn't mean I don't support them. It doesn't mean I'm bashing them. Actually, a lot of the time it couldn't be any further from that. It's just, sometimes I don't like people's behaviors, and because I know it's not them, it's out of character, and that's more what I'm trying to say. And a lot of the time I get kind of blamed and criticized for that, when all I'm trying to say is, like, this isn't you. Things are getting a little out of control, and I don't know what's going on, but this is very out of character for you, and I don't know why you're doing it, and I really wish you would stop. It's really what I'm trying to say. Yeah, we'll see, Michelle. That's the thing. I do candy coat things a little bit. I do. And that's because I have a lot of reasons for it. But my goal, actually, I'm really trying not to, because I've had a lot of emails asking me where I stand on certain things. And like I've said 1,000 times, where I stand on things is not where you should stand on things. You should make your decisions for yourself. So just because if I don't care for somebody, or if I like somebody, please don't judge that based on me. Like, I don't want that. And make your decision for yourself. I'm not going to treat you any differently. I'm not going to, even if you like Natasha and you come here, I'm not going to treat you any differently. She might, but I'm not going to treat you differently. As long as you're respectful in here, we can talk, and I'll treat you just like anybody else in here. Like, we're all people and human beings. It doesn't matter about that. But that's the thing. A lot of people have asked me, and I feel like I probably, there are some things I should speak on that I don't, out of, just, I'm a nice person. That's all. And I'm not like one of those people that's sneaky behind the scenes and is talking about everywhere but in the front. Like, that's not how I am either. I just don't talk at all about things if I'm not comfortable with it. But I want to. Yeah, I've spent a lot of time on YouTube, but I think it's a good thing for a lot of people. I think a lot of people are able to connect. This is my social time. This is my social life. I look forward to coming on here most of the time. this weekend I kind of didn't want to. I just needed to absorb everything that was going on, and I needed a break. Plus, I got snowed in. Like, you couldn't open the front door. There was so much snow. So it's kind of, you know, and I felt bad because I know that a lot of people look forward to my chats, which is really a true honor. I'm grinning ear to ear right now about that. Like, I never thought in my life anybody would be excited for something I do here, but here we are. So I'm really, really grateful for that. I think that's really awesome. And I can't thank you guys enough. But when I hear that, they're like, looking forward to your live. And I'm like, really? Like, I'm blushing. But yeah, I'm probably gonna get off here because I still, you know, I always come on here before I eat dinner because I procrastinate and I always leave everything for the last minute, and then I like scramble to get everything done and then to come on here on time, and then I end up staying on here way later than I intend to because I like hanging out and chatting, and then I don't go to bed till late, and then I get mad at myself. So, but it's worth it. 100% worth it. You're right. Yeah, that's what I'm here for. I'm not here to like participate. I'll comment on the drama, but I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to be part of that puzzle. You know, when there's like, when people are putting together who's who in a drama situation, I kind of don't want to be part of it at all. I'm perfectly comfortable being that like piece from another puzzle that gets thrown into that box of a particular one. I'm all about analogies. I impress myself sometimes. But yeah, I'm glad all of you kind of came by. I'm going to be talking about the really tough one for me next time, and that's like the big one. This was kind of just like an intro. And yeah, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, I really would love a community tab so I can like communicate with you guys and kind of chat. Because as it stands, I can't. No, I have not eaten yet, Michelle. I'm going to. I had breakfast. I had a bagel. And an apple today. So, you know, that's good. And I may or may not have had certain like gummy things that I have at the house, but because I like candy. But yeah, I'd love to have a community tab. I'm getting there. I think I'm like 50 away, give or take. And that would be awesome. That would be like meeting my first goal here. And if you haven't hit that thumbs up, hit that thumbs up. And it means a lot to me. It helps me out with my channel, and it is free to do. And it's really easy. You just kind of click out and you hit that thumbs up. Yeah, you know, anyone can do it. My dog could probably do it. I'm kidding, guys. I'm amongst friends. So I am going to go and I'm going to go eat something and go maybe play Pokemon because I'm, 12. And no shame. I'm 33 and I play Pokemon. End of story. There you go. Take it or leave it. And probably watch like some TV or something. But 46 more. Yes. Actually, that's less than I thought. Oh, that means I lost subs. That's okay. That's fine. I can't be everybody's cup of tea. Some of them are probably bots, I'll be honest with you. Because I see like I was freaking out because I'm like, I'm losing subs every time I go live, but it's because bots get blocked. I'm fairly confident in that. I'm gonna tell myself that anyway. It makes me feel better. But good night, everybody, and I will be back on tomorrow. I'll probably be on in the morning and then again at night. Because tomorrow is also a day that I have some extra time. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Stay safe on those YouTube streets. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, and have a great night, guys.